Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, we'll hear from Arizona's top legislative leaders on the battle over Medicaid expansion and other issues at the Capitol. Plus, the SkyTrain at Sky Harbor is up and running, and so are several art projects that debuted with the new passenger train. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. The push to expand Medicaid is still a major issue at the state capitol. How long before lawmakers make a decision, and what are the state's options if the decision is no? Joining us now for their monthly appearance on Arizona Horizon, Senate President Andy Biggs and House Speaker Andy Tobin. Good to see you both again. Thanks for joining us. What's the latest now as far as these Medicaid talk? What's happening down there?
Well, I think when we start talking about Medicaid, I think you start talking about whether there's enough votes to get it out of either house, how it's going to get there, what's it going to look like. I'm not sure we have a real bill that's out there yet. We've seen some language kind of proposed, and I think you're just going back and forth on that right now. And I'm just not sure that there's the momentum to cross the finish line on that.
Would you like to see more effort on one side or the other?
Well, you know, Ted, I've always said I'm opposed to it.
I understand that.
So if I want to see more effort, I suppose it'd be on that side.
So basically, you're saying that there's not a lot of movement and not a lot of movement to get more movement.
Well, I guess, you know, I don't want to give a false impression that nothing's happening. What we're seeing is at least on the Republican side of things, you see the grassroots have said that they don't want to do this. You see resolutions. You see people trying to make that and communicate that. And on the pro side, you're seeing some TV ads in different jurisdictions. You're seeing some mailers going out in different jurisdictions. And I think that, and there's polling data that now I think there may be 2 or 3 polls that are out. And so I think that you're seeing the pot is kind of simmering or getting ready to boil.
How long before the pot boils?
Well, you know, we've both been down there when things have boiled for a long time. I mean, this is something we have to get right. You know, and there have been pieces of this, I think, puzzle that the folks in the public aren't aware of. I mean, the president and I have clearly agreed, and the governor's aware, that we're not going to let the folks who are on fall off. I mean, that we decided that long ago. So, I mean, it's not like we have a population today that's going to crash. It's already getting served. So the question is, we have a $10 billion bag over here of federal money. In order to get it, we have to tax $1 billion over here of public money. And the question is, are you remembering there's a $17 trillion big bag over here of debt that somebody eventually has to pay for? And then the other questions come in as things are changing in Washington. I think we were seeing this week, they actually talked about not having some of the taxes for Obamacare that they said were going to be part of the equation. And of course, not only recently in January, they spoke of, oh, by the way, we're going to now cut Medicaid reimbursement. So there's a lot of disconcernment with what's going on in the federal government. And every day that changes the dynamics. And so I think that's what you're seeing. I think that's what's reflected down at the Capitol.
President Biggs mentioned a couple of polls out there. I think there's been 3 at least. What kind of impact? Because one shows a lot of support, one shows kind of some support, and other shows mild. Most of them seem to show varying levels of support.
Yeah. Well, I think what most people agree with is we have a health care crisis, an health insurance crisis. And the problem is we only really have this one solution over here. It's called Obamacare, and by solving it, we're borrowing money from China to do so. It's hard to find another solution when you have so much of the national health care, the Obamacare bill that passed, for us to implement ourselves. So I think it's really hard to gauge. I think a lot of folks like what's happened with Access. They think we've run a good program. But over here, you're like, do you want the federal government to be playing more of a role in that process? So on this side, I think they say no. On this side, they think we've done a good job with the resources we have. And then it's all about expansion and taxes. And it's a lot more convoluted than any poll, I think, could really play out to be.
If the no side succeeds and triumphs, and I believe you've already mentioned you are on the no side, what does the state do? What are the options? What's next?
Well, there's a whole series of options, but I think one option that you could look at is We have a status quo right now. We've got a Prop 204 freeze in place. We're catering and serving about 80,000 people on there. These are people that we agreed to cover, and we've frozen it. We got permission from the feds to do that, which is part of the problem that we see on everything, is that we have to go to the feds and say, can we have permission to do this? And that's, a lot of people have a problem with that. But it seems to me that that's your most basic option that you have, is to continue the status quo, and then you implore the feds to allow us to continue to provide that coverage. Maybe we can get that match rate that they've been giving. Maybe we can't. But that's probably your number one option.
The hospital, the hidden tax that we keep hearing about, that hospitals are being inundated with costs from the uninsured, is that kind of status quo good for Arizona?
Well, you have to appreciate some of this as well. When you hear the hidden health care tax, you start talking uncompensated care. Uncompensated care really isn't uncompensated care. That money's in the system. The other thing that you have, though, is in the proposal out there for Medicaid expansion, as the speaker pointed out, you're going to have to recover $1 billion. And the way you recover that $1 billion in the proposal is you impose a tax. And then when you impose that tax, that will then be passed on to the commercial side. The consumer is going to have to pay that, and you'll yet have a hidden health care tax. So I'm not sure that the argument that this eliminates a hidden health care tax is the right way to go, because either way you go, you will continue to have that.
We've had this conversation before, and I've been very upfront early on, saying, well, wait a second. If I solved President Biggs' hospital problem, because there's this hidden health care tax and this uncompensated care, how do I know that the President Biggs Hospital isn't going to turn around and charge, Ted Simons' company through his insurance rates more money? And I don't think that's a big ask for the hospital association and the medical providers. If we're solving this problem, then you should be able to say, well, that helps us. We don't have to pass that tax on, or we don't have to pass those costs on. But I don't see any of that in the language. And I've been asking for that language now for quite some time, and we haven't been getting any of those solutions solved.
Is that something, though, that will occur anyway if nothing is done, if the status remains quo?
And to your point, if the answer is that should occur just because of this huge influx of federal dollars, then they should be able to supply us with a guarantee that it won't occur. I mean, I would think that if you're getting all this cash, you should be able to show up at our table and solve some of our problems, which are auditing, which are, clearly oversight. Besides the 108 issue, you clearly have the separation of powers problem when you start talking about, under the current plan, giving one director, one paid state employee, the ability to go ahead and change rates and also whether or not they're going to lower reimbursements. So it's a tough. It's not so simple as you might want to make it seem.
With that in mind, does this go to the floor as a standalone vote? Is this rolled into the budget? Is there we hear both things. We actually had a report where you were saying you're ready and willing to send it to the floor. What?
Let me clarify what I've always said. I've always said the bill gets to the floor. I believe the bill gets to the floor.
I always said it doesn't. You always said it does.
Yeah, I always said I believe it gets to the floor, just because there are ways that bill gets to the floor. But so the question is ultimately, what form is it going to look like and you have to have a bill. And right now there is no bill, and that's a big hurdle to cross.
The way the bill is the way that language is right now, I would never put that on the floor. Because it has none of these protections. These are just some of the simplest protections.
But I think the idea would be to work toward the auditing and work toward some of the concerns you have and get it there. But it would get there standalone?
You mean aside from the budget?
Yes.
Well, there could be 17 different budget bills, so it depends on what we're talking the budget. But certainly, we can't do a Medicaid expansion and pay for it with state dollars. The president just described it's $1 billion over 3 years. We don't have that kind. And to be able to sustain the additional spending that's in the governor's or the executive's budget plan, we can't do that without an assessment. So what folks need to understand is if you're talking expansion, you are talking we have to raise taxes. Whether or not that gets a match or not, you have to understand that comes along for the ride. And that's where there's difficult choices down there to make. And I think The providers have an obligation to be helpful with those pieces and should be at the table, not just talking to members in their districts, but coming to the table saying, well, maybe this solves your problem. I haven't seen anything, so.
Okay, let's move on to another issue. Attorney General Tom Horne wants some money, again, to patrol Colorado City, get Mojave County deputies up there patrolling that particular municipality. What do you think of that idea?
I haven't seen the idea. It's hard for me to gauge that idea because I haven't seen it. But right now, that's really not his jurisdiction. And I don't know what it is he's hoping to accomplish or achieve. So I can't really comment on that because I haven't seen that proposal.
Well, he says that right now that followers of Warren Jeffs they're in control of the police department and law enforcement and not law enforcement protecting, serving the law. He says that's a problem. Did it last year, looks for money this year. Again, is it something viable or is it something that never gets a start?
Again, I would have to see it. I'd have to see what he's got in mind. I'm not sure what he's hoping to do. You have to realize that there's been similar proposals in the past. They've been held because they were problematic, and everyone from law enforcement on opposed some of those previous ideas. And so we've got to see. I would have to see and understand more clearly what he's trying to do. And I haven't heard that.
Is doing nothing the right thing to do in regards to Colorado City?
Well, I know we've had legislation moving down at the Capitol, but I would share with you, you talk about half of that, I don't even know how much it is, but I haven't heard from Tom Horne. I haven't heard from the sheriff of Mojave County. I haven't heard from my members in Mojave County telling me they need this, so quite frankly, I haven't seen anything on it at all, Ted. So if they need $450,000, maybe if there's a crime that's been committed, maybe the Attorney General should go file charges or something and have an investigation instead of coming to the Capitol looking for $500,000.
So again, the question, though, doing nothing would occur if nothing gets done. Okay by you?
Well, what you're suggesting is that the legislature is hindering, if the AG thinks he's got jurisdiction, if he thinks he's got a probable cause, he can go investigate that. The Attorney General can go investigate that now. And he's got money. We know he's got money because he just got $50 million off a big settlement from last year that gives him broad latitude to use. So he's got some money. So if he thinks that there's something to be investigated, he can do it. And
I'd encourage him to do it. If he's got a case, then why, I'm not so sure that we're waiting doing nothing. We have budgets to do at the Capitol. We're not the law enforcement agencies of the state. We should be going after whatever the crime's been committed.
One last point on this. There was a bill, wasn't there not a bill regarding a special master over the area up there? It seemed to die in the Senate. First of all, is it completely dead? And secondly, what happened to that? I think, didn't that pass the House like 88%?
Yeah, it was. We got that out of the House weeks ago.
Okay, so what happened in the Senate?
He got assigned to committees.
Well, you're the president. I mean, was it?
It came over. It came over on March 4th. I signed it to. March 8th. It came over March 8th. I signed committees on March 12th. The last week we were going to have committees. Committee chairman apparently chose not to hear it.
Is it unusual, though, to have 88% approval in one chamber and not even heard in the other?
Well, I'll jump in there. I mean, there's some bills that come over to me. No disrespect to the Senate. I've got some bills that come over 28 votes on them. I'm like, my gosh, how did this happen? So it's not. Each chamber has their own rules. I don't tell the president how to run his building, and he doesn't tell me how to run mine. So I think members know how to communicate with each other, and they should continue to try.
Last point on the... Oh, please.
Just wanted to piggyback on that. It is not unusual for a bill that's wildly popular in the House or in the Senate, when it gets to the opposite chamber, it gets assigned to a committee, and for whatever reason the chair says, I don't like this bill. I'm not going to hear this bill for whatever reason. So I would say that's not unusual, because that's why you have... we get 1,400 bills come through, and you get maybe 300 passed.
Last question before we let you go. The guns in small and remote schools, success so far at the legislature, and yet Democrats tried a tactic of adding on amendments of bills that were not heard, they say, simply because they thought these ideas should be heard when it comes to gun control. Was the tactic wrong? Was you just didn't want to hear these? What happened there?
We didn't want to hear, we're not trying to to kill bills necessarily, but you know the reality is we let maybe 2 gun bills out, 2 or 3 gun bills out, and those were the most benign gun bills we could think of. And when we were looking at this particular gun bill, we were saying, you know, we are concerned because a rural district can't even get an SRO. They either can't afford them or there's none close by. Let's see what other jurisdictions have done this particular idea alive and well in Texas. Let's see if it works in Arizona, and that's why I let that go through.
We've seen opinion polls, national opinion polls, 90-some-odd%, give or take a few, approval for background checks. Yeah. Shouldn't that be something at least debated, at least heard in the Arizona legislature?
Well, you know, we have background checks. I mean,
expanded.
Yeah, so you're talking about probably, you know, going to the gun shows and stuff like that. You know, I don't have a problem having these debates. My issue is that, listen, we had a shooting in Colorado, we had a shooting in Connecticut. For heaven's sakes, these are horrible events, and I haven't seen a gun that came from a gun show. You know, I get it. You know, you know, folks want to make a story about, you know, okay, if we do the background checks, that solves the problem. I don't see where that worked in any of those instances at all. That doesn't mean that that shouldn't be there. I'm worried about those folks who have mental health issues that shouldn't be carrying weapons. I worry about the bad guys with weapons. Of course we do. Bad guys don't register weapons anyway, and those folks who have mental health issues need help. So from my perspective, I think, you know, we have background checks now. I'm not opposed to having that debate and looking at background checks in gun shows if we think that's helpful, but nobody's showing me how that's helpful anywhere.
Well, in the U.S. Senate, we had Senators McCain and Flake both leading the charge to say, forget the filibuster, let's at least, I think McCain's quote was, if this issue is as important as we think it is, why not debate? What are we afraid of? Why not at least hear this at the Arizona legislature?
My own opinion is we had so much going on our plate. I agree with the speaker that there was no indicia that this is going to solve any of the problems. None of the issues that we got to or that we heard about, the instances that we heard about, showed anywhere where any of those additional checks or background speed bumps would have stopped this. In fact, all those guns were purchased legally. Background checks were done. Bad guys got a hold of them, and bad guys did bad things. And I'm afraid to say that's what continues to happen, and so we need to take, I would think, what we were trying to do is actually put kind of a moratorium on gun bills. And to categorize what this is as a gun bill is, I think, is a gross mischaracterization. That is a school safety issue. That's why we did that. The rest of the gun bills still remain unheard, whether they were Republican or Democrat, because we wanted to get a moratorium so there's not a visceral reaction or an emotional debate. But this one was a school safety issue. That's why we let that go through.
That involved guns.
Well, sometimes you need guns to protect schools.
All right. We'll stop it right there. Gentlemen, good to have you both here. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks,
we appreciate
Ted.
it.
Thanks, Ted.
Tonight's edition of Arizona Art Beat takes us to Sky Harbor, where half a dozen art installations debuted this week with the airport's new SkyTrain. City of Phoenix Public Art Program Director Ed Lebo is here to tell us about the installations. Good to have you here.
Delighted to be here.
What are we talking? We got 5 artists, 6 what is happening?
5 artists and artist teams and 6 installations at each of the new sites and stops along the SkyTrain.
And how long in development was this?
You know, Ann Coe, one of the artists, likes to say that her project manager was pregnant when they started, and now she has a 5-year-old. So it's since 2008.
And where exactly is this art displayed? Is it on the train, in the train, around the train?
It's the spaces leading up to the train. There are floors, huge terrazzo floors at the station platforms. If you get off on light rail to cross 44th Street, cross a bridge, that entire bridge is designed by an artist, working with a design team of architects and engineers and all the rest. East Economy Lot and then Terminal 4, you have two major projects there.
Well, let's take a look at some of these projects, and starting with this one with, is it Daniel Mayer?
Daniel Mayer.
Embedding letters on the floor. It's kind of like calligraphy here, huh?
It is. Well, Daniel Mayer is a bookmaker and a printmaker who teaches out at ASU, and so he uses a lot of fonts, as we like to call in the digital world. And in this case, he wanted to scatter the floor with a path that led you from one part of the train, the exit to the train, right over to the elevators and escalators. And the scroll that you have there is, limitless is the open and timeless is the open, sort of to draw upon the book of travel.
Isn't that interesting? And Daniel Mayer also now did, I believe, a couple of glass murals as well. Where are these?
He sure did. When you come off of the SkyTrain platform at Terminal 4, you go down the escalators, and there are two bridges that connect the train station to the terminal. He did these remarkable murals that really began with prints of Arizona leaves on aluminum foil. And then he scaled these up and produced them in traditional stained glass technique for both of these bridges, and they're beautiful and large. And in fact, you can see these from the drop-off area down below at Terminal 4 on the south side.
It must be basically those are leaf prints, aren't they?
Those are leaf prints, and very traditional, but in a contemporary setting unlike any other.
And I would imagine the scope and size kind of takes your breath away a little bit when you first see them.
115 feet long by about 9 feet high, so you feel like you're a bug crawling on the leaf.
Daniel Martin Diaz did a floor at the pedestrian bridge. What was this one all about?
Daniel Martin Diaz did a remarkable floor at the pedestrian bridge from 44th Street station over to the 44th Street light rail stop. This is a remarkable project. It's almost 500 feet long, 40 feet wide, and you can see from some of these pictures the kind of hand craftsmanship that went into this. These were produced right here in Phoenix by Advanced Terrazzo and some of their skilled craftsmen. Each floor took about 25 workers. And this is an ancient technique. Terrazzo is something that dates back a couple thousand years. It began with bits of marble from construction and built into cement. Now we have modern materials that are really beautiful.
That's absolutely gorgeous, mandala-like up there. Fausto Fernandez and Ann Coe both, but let's start with Fausto Fernandez, well known in the Valley as an artist. You got him to contribute as well, huh?
We did. We had a competition to select these artists 5 years ago, and Fausto, Daniel Mayer, Daniel Martin Diaz, and Ann Coe became the artists to do the Terrazzo projects. Fausto, because of his beautiful layering of paintings and his imagery, got this project, and he worked really beautifully with the design team to create a pattern that's based on tailplane wings.
Indeed, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Ann Coe, again, another very familiar artist to folks here in the Valley, and she did a floor as well? She
did a floor, and it captures all of the whimsy that everybody knows Ann has, and so it's essentially an aerial flyover of the Arizona landscape, which she loves. And so you have these wiggling lines of tree or canals and rivers, and takes off the topographic map graphics that you often see.
A floor as landscape.
Floor as landscape, and the one thing I'd point out is that at the East Economy Lot, this is an outdoor station. So Advance had to come up with an innovative new product to make it a durable product in the outdoors.
And there was an international team as well that did this. Now, was this a ceiling of cloud, something along these lines?
Yep, at the 44th Street station on the ground floor, sort of the main entrance to that site. You have the international team of Mario Marag, Michael Paracahai, working with Paul Deeb. And they had done a good deal of reading about the ancient ocean that used to be here covering Arizona, and they also just were infatuated with the blueness of our sky and the landscape. So they combined those two things into this grid that has this rippling like water in the middle.
We don't have too much time left. These artists, how much control, how much say did they have over what they wanted to do?
Very significant. They began with drawings and then worked directly with the architectural team to tweak them and incorporate them right into the plans as the entire SkyTrain developed.
And the overall cost of all this?
About $5.6 million and change out of a $1.5 billion project.
And again, the money came from?
Percent for Art program. The city has a Percent for Art program, which means a penny out of every buck the city spends on building itself involves artists in coming up with these kinds of enhancements.
And real quickly, the response from the artists, they happy?
They are delighted, thrilled, and the response from the public has been, goodness gracious, this is wonderful, wonderful work.
Well, congratulations on a success there. Can't wait to get out there and take a look. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me on.
And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.